welcome back to Cityline. With me, I have two individuals that are, pardon the pun, buzzing with information. I'm talking about the project at Alling Park, and it is a pollinator garden. And we have some beautiful pictures and even better guests. So please join me in welcoming Celeste X. Hoken. You are a pollinator garden project coordinator for this. Welcome to Cityline, my dear.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's great to have you here. And you brought with you Mr. Richard Matson. Hello there, my friend.
Hello.
You are still with the Chip-In program, which of course Metro Parks is known for. Thank you for being here today. All right, let's get right to this. So Celeste, what prompted the idea out of all ideas for a pollinator garden?
Well, I've been working in this field since about 2009. I became aware of honeybee collapse, colony collapse, and also that we had a problem with sustainable land use, especially with agriculture. And I kind of put the two things together and realized that if we created habitat, not only in our farm fields, but in our backyards and community gardens, we could create habitat not only for honeybees, but also for our native bees. We have 4,000 species of native bees in North America, and they are really critical to the survival of our ecosystems. So I decided to partner with the City of Oakland and Alameda County Master Gardeners when I was living in California. And I started the first demonstration pollinator garden there at the gardens at Lake Merritt. And it was a great success. And we continue to attract six-legged and two-legged visitors alike to that garden.
I love that. You know, Fred and I were talking before the segment got on the air about our love of mason bees. Because, you know, Fred and I have this conversation almost every year. And how much we love the big bumbles. We love the big bombus bottoms, and we love their legs. And you have something I want you to show our audience, because when you are involved with bees, Celeste, we're talking head over heels involved. What do you have on your hand?
Oh, well, because we now have a new demonstration pollinator garden here in the city of Tacoma at Alling Park, we needed a mascot. So we now have, I want to introduce you to Miss Bee Haven.
Okay, Metro Parks, this is your chance for some really great swag. So, Richard, I hope you're taking notes, because I would like a bombus pin. How's that? Or an pin. Richard, why did Metro Parks want to support this project? I mean, I think a lot of people are scared of bees, and it makes me sad to say that, because I outgrew my fear, but I still hear in my neighborhood lots of,
Yeah, you know, I think I've also outgrown my fear, thankfully. But I think that's precisely the point of this garden, is to bring awareness to the importance of pollinators and what they do. You know, native bees are vital to our ecosystems, but most people don't really understand the difference between native and non-native pollinators, or between bees and wasps.
Right.
Boy, that is a really good point. So, Celeste, I get the sense you're the person who's going to help us understand those differences and the connection to this demonstration garden.
Yes. Well, most people are very familiar with the iconic honeybee, but the honeybee is actually not native to North America. It was introduced here by settlers in the 1600s for the purpose of beeswax and honey. Not actually agriculture as it is today. In fact, our native bees pollinated most of our crops for free when we had smaller family farms. But our native bees, as I said, we had almost 4,000 species, are considered keystone species. In other words, they're critical to the survival of our ecosystems. And these premier pollinators ensure the healthy reproduction of our native plant communities. And in turn, the countless species of birds and animals that rely on these plants for food and shelter. So if our bees collapse, everything collapses. And there are quite a few physical and behavioral distinctions between our native bees and honeybees. The one defining characteristic the vast majority of our native bees, more than 90%, are considered solitary. In other words, they don't live in hives and they don't make honey. And each individual female bee creates and provisions her nest without the assistance of any other members of her species. So, and there's no sting in our relationship with native bees, so you don't need to be afraid of them. Our native bees are roughly split between males and females, unlike the honeybee colonies, which are almost entirely females. So 20,000 members and they're all females. So our native bees are having more fun, first of all. And the other thing is that the males have no stingers at all. So you're never going to get stung by a male. And the females have such weak stingers in many species, they won't even penetrate human skin. And because they're solitary, our female native bees are never, their defense mechanism is to fly the other way. They will not sting you. They're not defending a hive. So you need, and in fact, in the Portland area, there are colonies of mining bees that are on some of the school grounds, and the kids take great care of them. And in fact, they like to hold them because they're called tickle bees, because the stinger in the female just feels like you're kind of like tickling your palm. So they're called tickle bees there. But and the other thing about our native bees is they develop these specialized partnerships with the plants, that they've evolved with. So they are really superior pollinators of these plants. One of the things that female native bees can do, many species, they can buzz pollinate a flower. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but a female bumblebee will grab the flower with her legs and jaws and disengage her flight muscles and then buzz at a pitch that's about middle C, and it releases the pollen from the flower. You can actually simulate this with a tuning fork. And anyway, I also wanted to say that our native bees display an astonishing diversity in physical characteristics. Like they're from less than a quarter inch to over 1.5 inches, and they're green and they're spotted and they're red and they're orange and they're brown. So it was wonderful to be able to introduce people to this colorful cast of characters that are so vital to our survival, to the survival of our ecosystems.
Celeste, you are like a bee curator in a bee museum. If I could walk with you through every park and every yard we have, I would do that so you could point them out. But there's one thing I want to ask you about, and that's wasps. Because, wasps, we can identify them, Richard, and we can't be afraid of them. I am afraid of wasps. Are they considered to be a part of that 4,000 U.S. population of species?
No. So bees are descended from wasps. They're entirely different genera. So wasps are carnivores. They feed their young offspring, little insects. And so often wasps are actually beneficial to your garden because they feed on garden pests. But bees descended from wasps, and they are vegetarian. They're vegan. They only eat pollen for protein, and nectar for energy. And they provision the cells for their offspring with pollen and nectar. So they do not bother your lunch. They are much more refined. They're not going to insist on part of your sandwich like a yellow jacket will. So you really, again, don't need to be afraid. And one other thing I wanted to say, while these female bees are out doing all this work collecting, a female bee will visit 1,000 to 2,000 flowers to provision enough food for single offspring. So what are the male bees doing during all this time? You might wonder. Yeah, what are they doing? Well, male bees don't do any actual work. Their sole purpose in life is to find an available female to mate with early and often. And then when they're not chasing girls, they are drinking nectar from flowers or sleeping on the flowers. Sounds strangely familiar. So they're chasing girls, drinking, and sleeping.
You heard it first, right here on Cityline. So Richard, let's talk about, Obviously, I'm starting to understand the depth of education this garden will provide. And clearly, Celeste is like, the female Dr. Doolittle of bees. Her work in the garden goes beyond communicating information. It's amazing. Tell us about what this amazing volunteer has done to create this space.
Well, that's a perfect segue because really I was just along for the ride. Celeste has been the lead in every sense of the word of this project. She wrote a small sustainability grant through the city of Tacoma. She coordinated with Safe Streets Tacoma to be the nonprofit partner for this application. She coordinated with Metro Parks to help remove the sod and prepare the site for the actual garden. She persuaded the city of Tacoma and the Tagro department to donate over 90 yards of Tagro, which was awesome. She's helped recruit volunteers, including a friend that came up from the Bay Area to install the garden path. So that's some far-reaching volunteer outreach there. Great job. She's worked with Walrath to donate the quarter minus rock for the path itself. Worked with Garden Sphere, who has been a great partner in Proctor for a 30% discount on plants and materials. She's put plants in the ground. She's tended to the garden. She's watered the garden. She wrote information for the website that's going to go on Metro Park's website. And she developed the content and concept for the sign that is actually at the garden, the interpretive sign. So we invited everybody to come and take a look at that. It's just amazing. And again, I've just been along for the ride and trying to keep up.
Yeah, I'm with you on trying to keep up. So, Celeste, I have less than a minute left.
Oh, no.
I always want more time.
Yes.
But that's something that I'm not getting. So I'm going to end this with, what are the top 3 reasons that you are so passionate about this project?
Well, mostly we want to raise awareness about the existence and the importance of our native bees and to introduce up close and personal this cast of characters to our community so that they'll want to take part in their conservation. But also to understand how important their own residential gardens are to provide important habitat oases for these bees. As I was saying, the one thing that all these diverse bees need is an abundance of floral resources from spring through fall. And so your gardens can be very, very important part of this conservation effort. And it's just so much fun to get out there, and all the best bee gardens also attract other pollinators like those flashy overdressed butterflies and bee impersonators, these hoverflies that we like to call wanna bees.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you know what? I think you need your own channel. This is so amazing. Richard, we've been showing the website for Metro Parks, and I am assuming that to log on that website, we'll find the address, we'll find education, we'll find ways to volunteer, we'll find information about the chip-in events. Am I missing anything, Richard?
I think you've got it. We would just love to see you. Love a few extra helping hands for these wonderful projects. Celeste has, done so much, but she could definitely use a little bit of help. And everyone deserves a break every now and then. So
Absolutely.
Come by and lend a helping hand.
I want to say thank you to both of you very, very much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Well, that wraps up another great segment of Cityline. It is always a pleasure and a privilege to be in your home. We've given you some really great things to think about in this past hour, so please, first off, get yourself vaccinated. Secondly, go out there and be a part of this beautiful tapestry and pay it forward. And when you get done doing all of that, come on back. We'll be waiting for you right here at Cityline. Take care.
Tacoma's where you'll stay. Oh, you're from Seattle. Chicago, but Tacoma's where you'll stay, yeah. Tacoma, that's my home, from the fires to the loam. Tacoma, that's my home, yeah. Tacoma, that's my home. Tacoma, that's my home, the place I